Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, everybody. Today, I will try to explain to you about understanding noun clauses, adjective clauses. This is the task 2 of grammar analysis, student of magister program of English education, Open University. Okay, let's try to discuss about noun clauses and adjective clauses. What is clauses? A clauses a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. So a clause has a subject and a verb. And clauses divide into two items. The first is independent clauses and dependent clause. What is independent clause? Independent clause is a clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. It can stand alone. Example, she sings. She sings. And dependent clause is a clause that cannot stand alone. It needs an independent clause. For example, because she is happy. Because she is happy. Blah 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 because she is happy. This is independent clause because the sentence because she is happy has not complete meaning. And today we focus on two types of dependent clause. This noun clause and adjective clause. Let's discuss about them. Noun clause. What is noun clause? A noun clause is a dependent clause that acts as a noun in a sentence. So a noun clause acts a noun in a sentence. Since it's a noun, it can be the. So noun clause can be subject of the verb, can be object of the verb, or object of preposition. The core idea is a whole clause that has subject and verb does the job of a single noun. So subject and verb has the job of a single noun. How to spot a noun clause? In a sentence, sometimes we confuse to identify a noun clause. So, in this part, I will try to explain to you the word signal to identify a noun clause. Noun clauses often start with certain word. A certain word can be a signal word that it is a noun clause. First, that, if, whether. Question word using question word like what, who, where, when, why, and how. Or we can use either words like whatever, whoever, and wherever. Sample. The sentence, I know that he is honest. Sentence, I know that he is honest, it is a complete sentence. But to identify a noun clause, we use word that to identify a noun clause. So, that he is honest is a noun clause. Next, what she said surprised everyone. Where is the noun clause? To identify a noun clause, we identify word signal what. What she said become a noun clause with word signal what. The third, please tell me where you live. Where you live is a noun clause. No? Word where is signal word to identify a noun clause. So where you live is a noun clause. Example of noun clauses in action. In previous slide, we explained to you about the function of the noun clause. It can be a subject, can be object and object of a preposition. Let's identify its example. First, as the subject. Noun clause can be positioned as the subject. For example, what he did was shocking. What he did is a noun clause. What he did was a noun clause. Was as a verb, yeah, and shocking was shocking is a verb. Two, where she went remains a mystery. Where she went as a noun clause, where the position as the subject of the sentence. Where she went as the subject remains as the verb. Two, as the object of the verb. A noun clause can be object of a sentence. Example: I believe that he is telling the truth. I believe that he is telling the truth. I is a subject, believe is verb, so that he is telling the truth is a object of the sentence. Second, do you know if the train has arrived? Do you know if the train has arrived? Do you is the subject, now is the verb. If the train has arrived is the noun clause positioned as object of the sentence. 3. As the object of preposition. Example: please pay attention to what the teacher is saying. Attention to has preposition. So, after preposition, what the teacher is saying is the object of preposition. Second, she is not responsible for what I decided. She is the subject, is as the verb, for is the preposition, what I decided is the object. So the object of preposition is what I decided. So let's identify the noun clause in each sentence. I have 3 sentences, so we try to identify where is the noun clause in each sentence. First, I wonder why she left early. Where is the noun clause in the first sentence? To identify the noun clause, we can using word signal why. Why is the word signal, so why she left early is the noun clause in the first sentence. How about the second? That the earth is round is a fact. Where is the noun clause in the second sentence? To identify noun clause, we can use word signal that. That is the word signal to identify a noun clause. So, that the earth is round is a noun clause. 3. He doesn't know where the keys are. He doesn't know where the keys are. In the sentence, he doesn't know where the keys are. To identify a noun clause, we can use word where as the word signal. So, where the keys are is a noun clause for the third sentence. Okay, I think this is my explanation about noun clause. So let's begin the explanation about adjective clause. What is adjective clause? Adjective clause is an adjective clause is an independent clause that describes a noun or pronoun. So adjective clause is a dependent clause describe a noun or pronoun. It usually comes right after the noun it describes. So the position of adjective clause is comes right after the noun it describes. Or it's also called a relative clause. So relative clause is adjective clause. The core idea, it was like a single adjective, but it's a whole clause that gives more information about a noun. So adjective clause describe or give information about noun. How to spot an adjective clause? How to identify an in sentence? Where is the adjective clause? Adjective clause usually start with a relative pronoun. It use it uses who, whom, whose for people. So when we describe people, we can use who, whom, or whose. Which or that for things and animals. So when we describe things, animals, we use which or that. Where for describe places and when for describe time. The care feature, you can often remove the adjective clause and the main sentence will still make sense. So in the sentence, when we remove adjective clause, the sentence still makes sense. The sentence still have meaning that we can understand. So this is the differences about adjective clause and noun clause. Example, the book that I borrow is fantastic. The book that I borrow is fantastic. That I borrow is adjective clause. But when we remove that I borrow from the all sentence, we can still understand the meaning. The book is fantastic. So, the book that I borrow is fantastic. When we remove that I borrow, the sentence become the book is fantastic. So we still have meaning. The sentence still have meaning and we can understand what the meaning from the sentence. Example of adjective clause. The woman, the woman who lives next door is a doctor. Who lives next door explain or describe the woman. So, the clause who lives next door describe the woman. The woman as a noun. I read the book that you recommended. I read the book that you recommended. That you recommended, the clause that you recommended describe the book. And the book is a noun. So this is adjective clause that you recommended describe the book as a noun. This is the house where I grew up. This is the house where I grew up. Where I grew up is adjective clause. Where I grew up is adjective clause and it describe where I grew up describe the house and the house is a noun. That was the day when everything changed. The clause when everything changed is adjective clause. It describes the day and the day is a noun. This is the table about the key difference noun clause versus adjective clause. I try to explain to you and I try to summarize my explanation into this table. The first, I will try to explain to you about differences noun clause and adjective clause. From the function, noun clause, the function is act as a noun. So noun clause, the function is a noun. Where she went remains a mystery. Where she went remain a mystery. Where she went is a noun clause and the position as the subject of the sentence. And subject must be a noun. So where she went is a subject of the sentence and where she went is an she where she went must be a noun. Adjective clause, the position, the function. The function of adjective clause is describes a noun, give information, give describe a noun. The function is this is the house where I grew up. The house is an object. An object must be a noun. So where I grew up explain of or give information about the house. Noun clause, noun clause, the differences and adjective clause from position. Noun clause, the position of noun clause can be subject, object, or etc. For example, what he did was shocking. What he did was shocking. The position of noun clause as the subject. What he did is a subject from this whole sentence. So, the what he did as a subject. Adjective clause, the position of adjective clause comes right after the noun it describes. So the position comes right after the noun. For example, I read the book that you recommended. The book is a noun. So after the noun, it is a noun adjective clause. I read the book that you recommended. So that you recommended is a adjective clause and it comes after a noun. The noun is the book. The three removal. Noun clause. When we remove a noun clause, if we remove noun clause, the sentence breaks. We cannot understand the meaning of the sentence when we remove noun clause. For example, what she said surprised everyone. When we remove what she said, the sentence becomes surprised everyone. What the meaning surprise everyone? So this is not complete meaning. So if we remove the noun clause, the sentence breaks. We can understand the all meaning of the sentence. Adjective clause. When we remove adjective clause from a sentence, if we remove the core sentence often still work. So we can still understand the meaning of the sentence, even adjective clause removed from the sentence. For example, the woman who lives next door is a doctor. When we remove who lives next door, the sentence becomes the woman is a doctor. The woman is a doctor. Yes, we understand the meaning that the woman is a doctor. The profession of the woman is a doctor. This is the example. I know what he wants, object of the verb. What he wants is the object. Adjective clause. I know the man who wants the job. Describe the job. Describe a man. So, who wants the job? Describe a man. I think that's all my explanation about differences about adjective clause and noun clause. And I think and I hope you can understand my I hope you can understand about my explanation, and I insert a link from Kahoot. You can challenge and you can exercise your understanding about my explanation, especially about adjective clause and noun clause. You can enter the Kahoot and you can do some exercise to improve your understanding about noun clause and adjective clause. I think that's all my explanation about uh, adjective clause and clause. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.